MTN SME Hub. Link to growth. Link to success. Link to the ultimate resource for business advice and insights.
Welcome to the Big Small Business Show, the show for all our wonderful entrepreneurs out there. Now, there are some entrepreneurial stories that are meant to be told. And that story that we are going to tell you today is the story of Greg Walsh, the story of G&G. If you are a young entrepreneur starting out, then this is the show to watch, because you're going to hear a story of tenacity, a story of the highest highs, the lowest lows, but a story of just resilience, push through, and building something magnificent. Welcome, Greg Walsh.
Thank you, Allon. Thank you. It's quite the intro.
Quite the intro. But it's true. I know your story. I know your story well.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you've come onto the show to tell your story, because I think your story is an important story to tell because of the highs and the lows. So let's start at the beginning. It's G&G Productions. Was that the name at the beginning? Is that how it all started? How did it all begin?
You know, life also gives you signals, and you get sometimes there's a little thing that you're in a position, and because of that, it leads to something else and leads to something else. Everyone thinks that G&G has something to do with Greg, but in reality, it actually precedes Greg. There were two young guys called Gareth and Gavin, young Jewish entrepreneurs from Cape Town, and they loved music. Gareth was obsessed with DJing, and they started DJing the bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah scene when they were 13 years old in Cape Town, and they created G&G Pro. And I met them in 2003 in my first year at university. A friend of mine, Gareth Cliff, who I just met, introduced me to Gareth DeVore, and a friendship formed. I used to go with him to Clanwilliam, skiing on the boat, and this friendship kind of got me interested in what's going on with these guys. But I was in first year university, truth be told, a fairly privileged kid, and 6 months through first year varsity, it all crumbled down for my dad. And in a way, it was heartbreaking and difficult, and there was anger and there was emotions. But I think that's one of the big moments in life that set me up for the journey of entrepreneurship, because he said, I've got your job at a restaurant, and in 6 weeks' time, your next varsity payment is due. And that's it. The taps are closed. And I had this friendship building with Gareth. I worked in the restaurant. I would then work for Gareth on weekends. I'd run the door. I'd run around selling tickets at varsity, whatever. And again, the little bits of luck started. The guys, the original G&G Pro had started Matric Rage in 1999. And I had just come from a matric holiday in Belita and Umhlanga that felt and smelt like Matric Rage, but no one organized anything. We just went to whatever bar would open the door for us. And I said to the guys, let's do something. There's something there. They had been thinking about it as well. So I got to go with Gareth now, who was my mate, and Gavin and René and the other partners did the Plet thing. We did the KZN thing. In the first year, I had no shares in the matter. And then, like many entrepreneurial journeys, they had an enormous fallout the following year. So 2005, they have a big fallout. Gareth exits. Eventually, Gavin exits. It leaves René, and René says to me, I can't do this Belita and Umhlanga thing. And anyway, it's mini. It's not interesting. So I've got Plet. So he says, you can do it. I said, fine, I want shares. He said, fine, you can have some shares. And that was really the start of owning something tangible in a real business. I had run a quiz night event in Cape Town as a side hustle, but this was now, okay, I'm in university still. I still felt like it was a means to an end. It was like, this gets me to the end of fourth year when I've got an honors degree, and then investment banking sounds great. So my third year, I'm a small shareholder in Umhlanga and Matric Rage, and we'd started the Matric New Year's Eve street party. And they went it was quite a big jump from 2004 to 2005. And 2006 then rolled around. It's my final year of university. René says, listen, let's do it again. I'm like, that's cool, but I had to do a lot of work, and I'm not doing it for 25%. I want 50%. So he says, fine, that's fine. You can have 50%. But he's still got Plet and the stuff in Cape Town. So we go again, and again, big jump in what we do. But the year ends, I make some good money doing that. I get accepted on the Absa Capital graduate program, which includes going to study at the whole Barclays Capital grad program, which puts me into London for 18 months on what was meant to be 6 weeks. So off I go to London. I kick the events to the curb, investment banking. I get there, and it's just before the financial smash. And I mean, I'm meeting in the February 26-year-olds who got £1 million bonus.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is now, that event's rands, this is pounds, this is amazing. And I'm going to do this. And June, July that year, René phones and says, listen, I can't do this thing. Can you do Belito, Mshlanga Rage, and the New Year's party? So I'm like, well, it's not, I kind of know what I'm doing now. I can pay another guy a bit extra. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So I'd use my leave to come home for that, but I pre-prod it from London. And again, it made more money. Now, I actually made more money that December than I'd made on the grad program in the bank the whole year. But I was still pretty adamant that the banking thing will quickly outstrip it. So 2007 rolls around, and I am still living in the UK. For a long story that we haven't got time for on the show, Absa Capital pull me back against my will and say, you've got to come back and finish your grad program in South Africa. I don't love working at Absa Capital in downtown Johannesburg. It doesn't feel the same as what I was enjoying in London. The events I'm now more involved in, I've now got 50%, if I'm up for it, of the whole business, including Matric Rage and everything. So I moonlighted again. The team secretary at Absa Capital loves it, Sandy. She's been there 40 years, but this is fun. So she's helping me book tents and do things. And again, I mean, that year I was 22, 23 years old, and I made R1 million on New Year's Eve.
Sure.
And that was triple what I'd made working at the bank the whole year. And okay, I had to split it with René, but it suddenly made me realize, whoa, there could be a career here. And at the same time, my Absa boss said, you're doing 75% of two streams. You've got a job in banking, you've got to decide. And that was the moment to go all in on entrepreneurship. January 2008, Gareth, my good old mate, had finished his restraint of trade. He'd been banging on the door. So we started what was then no longer G&G Pro, was now G&G Productions. That was really the start of full-time, take a little office in my flat. It was the start of that, from the garage, that entrepreneurial journey.
We're going to have to take a break now, and when we come back, we're going to continue the fascinating story of G&G Productions. Stay tuned.
MTN SME Hub, link to business success.